Attacking concepts and principles for the CCTV cache site on Clubhouse. I want to do this map just because this site has kind of been quote-unquote figured out for the most part, and there's a pretty popular way to attack it that I think every player should know. So starting off, I'm going to talk about what can trip up a lot of players, the breach wall. So in 2023 Season 8, there's no excuse to not be able to get this wall open. You have Thatcher, you have Maverick, you have Flores, you have so many operators. You have Impact EMPs on operators like Dokkaebi, Gridlock. There's no real excuse to not getting the wall open now, even with the bans. So it's very easy to get this wall open. You can either Maverick it by drawing line above, line below. It could become soft, that you can use like a Buck, a Sophia, something like that to get it open, and you can operate in. Say you don't have Maverick, you can use one of the Impact EMP operators. So you don't have one of the Impact EMP operators. It's like, alright, but I have Sledge with nades or one of the nade operators. Then you're going to want to go below, drone, obviously, and you can nade the bandit playing here. Now, if it's Cade, that might not work, because the Cade Claw could be up over here, it could be in all sorts of wacky places. Then you could potentially bring IQ. She can go below and just spot where the claw actually is. Now you could also use IQ in combination with other players who have Impact DMPs, like the Dokkaebi, like the Gridlock, and she can ping it. It's like, oh, it's right there. So the Impact DMP player can't miss. Now, if all that fails and say they're like bandit tricking and you really struggle dealing with bandit trickers, you would just throw your EMP. You would then play something like an Ace, where Ace can throw on the right and on the left, and the bandit can't. He has to pick one. He can't do both. He has to pick one. One of the real old school ways of dealing with bandit tricking, and this is if they're bandit tricking, doesn't really work with Cade. You could fire a firebolt through this window. You also throw nades through here, but just be careful that, you know, Wamai and Jaeger are in the game. When this used to happen with Capital, Wamai was not in the game. And they can't bandit trick, because they're going to be fired out of this general area. So, number one, get the wall open. There's really no excuse to not have it open in 2023. Next, we're going to talk about more of a garage take. This is, I think, probably the best way. And the reason you take garage is to essentially remove what usually is a Raptors player. Now, the reason you want to remove this player is he's going to be sitting here. If you get the wall open and he has some sort of rotate or any sort of punch holes or anything like that, as you can see, you're setting up a crossfire on anyone who's going to be in the site. Anyone who's trying to plant, anyone who's on the breach wall. What I mean by that is, he's standing in garage. Usually you'd have a player in cache, and they effectively have a very easy crossfire on you. And that's bad because say you were to hop in this window or hop in the breach, you have to look essentially two ways up, and you can't look two ways at once. So if they're coordinated, they could potentially swing you. I mean, if they're not, there's a good chance you're going to walk into one of their crosshairs. So it's very important to get rid of the garage player, because also once you have garage control, these gunfights are much easier to take, and in fact, you might have a crossfire on certain players with your breach wall players and your garage players. Now, how do you take garage? There's many different ways to do it. A lot of times these walls will be reinforced. Sometimes in solo queue player, whatever, they're not, which is great. You just come here this off, self-destruction, open it up. This allows you to cut off or rotate the Raptors player potentially, depending on where the rotation hole is. If they don't have one, you're in really good shape. Obviously, you gotta be mindful of roamers responding to this. What a lot of people will do is open this up and then try to get the player out either with Capital bolts. The way you deploy Capital bolts is typically you can peek the door real quick. Obviously, it does expose you for a second, so be careful. Another way that people like to do it is with nades. Because if you have someone holding the player, say from the door or wherever, or you have a drone on him, it's very easy to just toss your nades up at him without even having to look at him. Now, you can do it with frags or stuns, and I want you to intentionally run him down. I also notice a lot of players will get one frag and sometimes panic and leave if the wall's not open, so you can catch them rotating. so you can trade 1-for-1 as long as someone is watching the rotate. One of the things that's really nice about taking Garage is you only have to worry about threats in this direction generally. So again, there's no natural crossfire for defenders here. There is these stairs here. You can put a Claymore back a little bit further, and it's really, really hard for defenders to deal with it. Like, they might have to waste a C4, and it's really hard to impact as well. So, something to note. Once you've taken Garage and you have the breach wall open, if you're in more than a 3-stack, there's a chance you might be able to even get a player on the window here, which just creates another point of pressure. And also more insurance for post-plant, because when they have to walk in, you plant down, they're going to have to look at the guy in the window, people in the breach, potentially people in Garage. This player can also come in and play aggressively once the attention is on the breach wall and potential Garage player. That's basically it for the Garage take. Once you have Garage, once you have the breach wall, you're really thinking about, at this point, planting. Obviously, you can bring Gridlock Nomad if you're worried about flankers, or just have someone play Flank Watch. The rattiest shit you can do is to have someone, if you have your resident Flank Watch player, if you're in a stack, obviously if you're just solo queuing, or in a 3-stack, you probably don't have this luxury. Just having a player sit out here watching rotates, it's pretty easy for them, because late in the round no one's going to be looking outside. But that's a luxury you only have usually if you're in a 5-stack and you're up in your retake. There's a lot of other more important things to watch. So you get the plant down, play crossfires post-plant, easy peasy, easy life. That's like the Garage-centric take. Now, there's another take you can do, which I don't think is nearly as good, but it might be better if you're only a 3-piece or maybe even a duo. So you get this wall open here. You can bring whatever you want to open it. Similar principles to the main breach wall and CCTV. Just be aware that this is hard. So if they have like a Cade on it and you don't have any EMPs, you don't have a Twitch or anything like that, this could be a lot harder to open. You'd always just try to go Logi hatch as well. So you get in here, it's a little bit more dangerous because you have to cross here, or you can have your hard breacher jump in through this window, which is a lot safer, but just be aware you need some sort of bedroom control. Now you can do this, as I alluded to earlier, by going down logistics hatch, clearing all this with drones, of course, nomading or gridlocking off this area, so you have to worry about roamers. And you're in the same spot you were before. Obviously, you can, depending on what you have, your game plan changes and maybe you have to be a little bit greedy. But usually you want to have a thermite open this wall. Once you have this wall open, you need to be a little bit mindful of what's generally the rotate there, and also any players you might be playing in Garage, or any roamers returning to site. The default plant is generally in this corner here. The reason for this is you can't die instantly from the rotate, and players generally don't play in B-site because of the pressure on the main breach wall. I would still recommend trying to get this wall open if you're going to do the cash take, the construction take, just because, I mean, if players are allowed to play in there, you're never going to plant. You're never going to be able to plant. They're going to hear this, they're going to run in and throw C4s, throw smokes. That's generally it in terms of the actual two main takes, either construction take or a Garage take. Breach wall is important in both. Now, you can also just play some just quick tips in terms of getting a lot for little effort expended. Is you have like a nade operator, for example, Yana is a perfect example. You would stand here, drone stock, it's only one room. There's only one place the defenders can come from. Obviously be mindful of roamers shooting through this or making holes. You come below here, and typically people will anchor in the A site, and it's very easy to nade them. If you're not doing a Garage take or you don't need your nades for Garage take, coming in here and grabbing a simple frag with one of your nades can be a big game changer, especially if you get like the Chachanka, the Smoke, the Echo, someone like that, the Maestro. Someone like that will help you later on with your executes. And that's really it.